Once you've experienced this, you're never going to go back to the old way of getting on the internet and rubbing one out really quickly. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy through sexual kung fu training so that you can magnetize your ideal life. So how to quit porn. Porn is becoming a worldwide epidemic. The consumption of porn, being addicted to porn, men masturbating to porn. Porn has become the drug of choice for many, many men worldwide. And it really is a drug. It changes the chemistry of your brain. It changes the physiology of your body. And I'll get into this more. And one of the really tricky things about porn is how easily available it is. If you have a smartphone or a computer, then you can literally be looking at porn within 10 seconds of any given moment of the day. Maybe even faster, right? And you could have been doing this right now, but you're here watching this video, which means you're already ahead of the game. Another aspect of porn is that, if you want to covertly subvert a population of people, then distorting their connection to their sexual energy is a very effective way of doing that. And that's what we've seen worldwide, through porn being one of the main weapons of choice, right? To keep us men unempowered. Because when you're constantly a slave to your impulses, when you're constantly watching porn, masturbating, ejaculating out your masculine essence, that's what semen is. It's our seed, it's the seed of our life, it's our life force. When a man is constantly ejaculating to porn, his testosterone levels are low, he's an addict, he's easily controlled, he's easy to manipulate, and he becomes rather docile in his life. So porn causes, on the more superficial levels, some of the effects of porn are that it wreaks havoc on your dopamine levels. When you're looking at porn, your brain's releasing all this dopamine. It's the reward chemical, but you haven't actually done any. Usually it's released when you've worked hard at something. It's like you did a workout or you finished a project. You get this natural release of dopamine. But when you're clicking on video after video, you're getting hit after hit of dopamine. And the brain says, okay, something's not right here. So I'm going to shut off these dopamine receptor sites so that my levels normalize out. And what happens is when you're not looking at porn, your dopamine levels are unusually low. And so it causes this addictive cycle in your life. But this is actually a rather superficial effect of porn. This is what most people talk about, but it goes much, much deeper than just your dopamine levels. I mean, if you have a smartphone, if you spend time on social media, then your dopamine levels are already out of whack by these things. So porn is just a bit more of that, but it goes much, much deeper than just this. And I'll get more into that later in this video. So how do you quit watching porn? Because if you're like me, you spent your entire teenage years masturbating to porn every single day. I started when I was about 13 or 14 years old. It's like as soon as I could get on the computer and Google naked girls, it was a slippery slope to a porn addiction and masturbating every single day until my early 20s. It was about, I was 22 or 23 when I started understanding just how depleting of a pattern this was for me. And that's when I stopped doing it, gradually started practicing semen retention, started building my life force back up through sexual kung fu practices. So I'm going to give you guys some quick tips to quit porn and some deeper, more sustainable practices as well that will help you to quit the porn habit completely. So the first thing to realize is that you have a habit. It becomes ingrained into your daily schedule. Like, 7 o'clock in the evening, I gotta rub one out, so I can go to sleep afterwards or whatever. And that alone becomes, a very difficult thing. You're stuck in this rut, right? So the first thing you need to do is create an action plan for yourself. Say, okay, I normally look at porn 7 o'clock every night, get on Pornhub, browse, whatever you're into, and that's your habit. So you need an action plan, something that you do instead, something that is going to be a more beneficial habit and still kind of gives you that natural sense of accomplishment, that natural dopamine release, right? So there's many things that you can use to replace this. Some of the easiest go-tos are working out, exercise, go to the gym. If you're still in quarantine when you're watching this, then that may not be a possibility, but you can work out at home, find some workout videos, follow that along. Instead of looking at porn videos, follow a workout video. Go for a run, go for a hike, work on some creative projects. Find what it is that interests you, what excites you and motivates you in life. Study that, deepen your knowledge of that. Create a business for yourself around that. Develop yourself. That can be a very, very fulfilling place to place your energy into. And often when you want to look at porn, what you're really creating is social connection, the connection with the human, because watching porn gives you this false sense of connecting with someone. So you can actually connect with a real person, hang out with some friends, call up some friends or go play some sports, go play basketball, something like that. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is you need to have an action plan. For example, okay, 7 o'clock in the evening when I'm normally looking at porn, instead of doing that, I'm going to go for a hike and study for 15 minutes, or learn an instrument, maybe take guitar lessons, something like that, which is a very great place to start putting this creative energy into, instead of just spending an hour masturbating to porn. So the action plan is very important, and you can have this in place for if there's a time in the day when you have an urge to look at porn. Say, okay, instead of looking at porn, I'm going to do 20 push-ups or go run a couple miles, something like that, right? This is the first thing, is you start to break this pattern you have. They're called pattern breaks, where you normally do something, you do something else instead to shake up this habit, to shake up this pattern. And this starts to become your new habit. So that's a great first step, but even that ultimately may not be enough. Something I want to share here is that there's an app that was developed called Conquered Self. Someone reached out to me about this and shared this with me. And I personally, I haven't used this, but from what I understand, it's kind of a accountability group and an app to quit masturbating to porn, helping men quit that habit and things like that. So I'll put a link to that in the description below. You can find out more about that, so that can be a great outlet as well. But the thing is though, is that these things may not always be available to us. What we're seeing is that all this censorship on the internet, things are selectively being taken down. So the ultimate path is to have the skills within yourself to control your mind, control your urges and your impulses. And the most important thing to understand here is that your sexual desire and your sexual impulses are the root of your entire being. This is the fuel that's driving your life, is sexual energy, but it's completely unconscious for, pretty much everyone in the world. And so it's driving you to look at porn, to masturbate, because, you're seeking this sexual connection, this sexual fulfillment, but you're not doing it in a balanced way. A lot of guys take the path of suppression. This is the common, kind of no-fap thing, is just suppress my sexual drive, just don't masturbate anymore, just put that over there, I'm done with that. And it works for a little while, but eventually it comes back in your face. And another common habit is that guys, they do no-fap, whatever. They're not watching porn, they're not masturbating, but then they get into a relationship, and then all these sexual things start to come back out. Like you're constantly ejaculating during sex, which is still depleting your energy, right? You need to learn how to control your ejaculation, have non-ejaculatory orgasms by bringing that energy upward in your body. This is the path of sexual mastery. So it's important here to make a distinction between suppressing your sexual energy and redirecting your sexual energy. And to me, this is the path that brings true success. The things I mentioned before, they can work, but they're a little bit more superficial, and they're not really getting to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is that you have a strong, powerful sex drive, and you're not harnessing it properly. So it's driving you to do all these things that are imbalancing you. The essence of sexual kung fu is going right into the sexual energy, going right into our sexual impulses and redirecting them, changing the way that you express and experience sexuality. Because if you don't change your experience of sex, your relationship to sex, and how you experience pleasure and orgasm, if you don't change this, then you're always going to be a slave to it. It's going to come out eventually. Maybe you aren't watching porn anymore, but once you get into a relationship, you're trying to act out these porn images you saw, having this very physical base level approach to sex, where you're just ejaculating still and depleting yourself. And you're right back to square one, being controlled by your sexual energy. I want to make a clear distinction here that masturbation is not the problem. The problem is constantly ejaculating, especially looking at porn and ejaculating. So the dynamic of sexual energy has specific qualities that make it very, very powerful and sometimes even dangerous to work with. For example, sexual energy is like a psychic superglue. It's going to bond you to thoughts, to feelings, to actions, to porn sites. Have you noticed that when you had sex with someone, especially over a long period of time, you form this deep connection with them, and maybe you break up with them and you still feel that connection. You can't get rid of it. That is what sexual energy does. It glues you to things, for better or for worse. So when you're looking at porn, you are literally creating this cycle. You are creating this pathway of connection between you and looking at porn. You're gluing yourself to that habit, which is why it's so difficult for so many men to break. It's often more difficult than any other drug, any other addiction that you have, because the sticky nature of sexual energy is that you've glued yourself to this habit. But on an even more esoteric level, what is happening to all this sexual energy? There's right now, around the world, there's millions of men masturbating to porn right now, orgasming, ejaculating, releasing this tremendous amount of sexual energy. Where is all this sexual energy going? Think about that for a moment. Something is consuming this energy. And I'm going to talk about something that, I recently did an interview with Michael Wynn. He talks about the internet sex beast, which is this huge astral entity, which is literally feeding off of people's sexual energy. So it's this very dark force, right? And that's what you're connecting with when you're masturbating to porn. You're sending your energy off to some dark astral entity who's feeding off of you, getting stronger and stronger, and you're literally become a slave to this entity. And it becomes, again, this very draining, depleting cycle. When you look at porn, there's this dark energy in your field for several days afterwards. I had an experience, the last time I looked at porn personally, I was already pretty far along in my sexual kung fu practice. I'd been practicing semen retention. I was no longer addicted to ejaculating frequently, but I was kind of curious. I was like, hey, I'm gonna look at porn, just see what happens, see if it kind of excites me and if I can use that energy, circulate it through my body and use it. Well, what happened was very, very, very unpleasant. It was like, I saw the porn image, of course, and it was arousing, but there was this different, it almost felt like a psychic attack, honestly. And it took me a week to recover from this. Like, I just was constantly like glued to this image in my mind, and there was this very, very dark energy around it and just did not feel good at all. It's an entirely different experience than legitimately connecting sexually with a human being. Totally different experience. So basically what I learned is that there's a lot more happening when you're looking at porn than just looking at a sexual image. You're connecting with some really dark shit that's out there. The whole porn industry is fueled by human trafficking and just really, really sick, twisted things that are happening in the world that most people are completely unaware of. So this is kind of the astral realm that you're tapping into when you're masturbating to porn. So just be aware that every time you ejaculate, you're feeding something. You're sending energy somewhere. So are you sending your energy into some dark demonic entity, or are you sending the energy into your body? Are you nourishing yourself? Are you sending it into your partner in a loving and harmonious connection? Because that's the thing to realize. And so if you truly want to break your connection with porn and this addiction to this lower expression of sexuality where you're just discharging your energy in an ejaculation, if you want to truly break that pattern, then you really need to do energetic practices to learn to recirculate that energy internally, create new pathways of expression. As I said before, masturbation is not the problem. It's what you're focused on during masturbation that makes it either beneficial or very harmful. So when you learn to cultivate your sexual energy in a different context where you're focusing within your body, you're redirecting that energy internally, feeling a state of love, of appreciation, whether that's for yourself, if you're alone, or with your partner, then you create an entirely different expression of sex. This is what we were truly meant to experience when we have sex, is this multi-dimensional, full body engaged, all of our energy centers active, the sexual energy rises up through the chakras and leads to this much higher and fulfilling expression of orgasm. And ultimately, we can open our crown center, right? Connect directly to the universe and have this universal cosmic orgasm. Guys, this is a completely different experience than getting on the computer, looking at some nasty image and ejaculating in 2 minutes. You feel like shit after that. Well, when you're cultivating your sexual energy, either by yourself or with a partner, circulating internally, building the energy, you get into incredible high vibrational states. Just unbelievable. It's better than any drug. You don't need drugs when you do this. And then your experience of sexuality is so different. It's so transformed that you have no desire to go back to those old ways, because it's literally the difference between throwing out your energy, releasing it, and building it up, harmonizing it, raising your vibration. What would you rather have? It's a pretty easy question. So that's the thing, is if you focus on this training in sexual kung fu, learning to circulate this energy internally, build it and harmonize it, you're no longer controlled by your sexual impulses. You're able to direct them fully, and you're not suppressing your sex drive. So it's not, coming back to bite you in the ass later in life. You're in full control of the sexual energy, and you have such an amazing, harmonious connection to your experience of sex that you have no desire to look at porn anymore. You have no desire to ejaculate constantly. This is the difference between fighting a constant battle, where you're forcing yourself like, oh, I want to look at porn, but I'm going to go do this thing instead every single day, versus living a life of balance where you're completely connected to your sexual energy and you're so used to expressing it in a harmonious way that you have no desire to look at porn anymore. And that's really, it becomes effortless. It's not a battle. It's not forcing yourself to do anything. You've simply redirected your expression of the sexual energy and orgasm in a way that you're connecting with people, connecting with yourself on a much higher level. You're no longer like trying to get laid, just trying to find a partner so you can have some quick sex and ejaculate just to release all the sexual tension you have. No, it's instead of that, you have space in your body for this energy to be harnessed and expressed, and you have this loving connection for yourself. You have respect for yourself, respect for others. You're no longer fully functioning out of your purely lower energy center expression of just, trying to fuck everything, basically, right? You're connected to your heart center. The sexual energy rises up to the heart. It raises its vibration, raises up an octave into love energy. Raise it up to your crown. It raises up another octave to universal connection to the creator, whatever that looks like for you. And so when all these things are combined together, sexual desire, love desire, connective, cosmic creation desire, right? It's an unbelievable experience. And once you've experienced this, you're never going to go back to the old way of getting on the internet and rubbing one out really quick. So to me, I don't think it's an issue of like, we need to fight the porn industry and take it down, because the porn industry, it's not necessarily the enemy. Yeah, there's some dark, nasty things there, but it's only there because there's the demand for it. And as long as we are unconscious of our sexual energy and our connection to it, there will always be something like the porn industry to exist. So it's a change each one of us, it's a change you need to make within yourself. Change your connection to your sexual energy. Learn to master your sexual energy and express it in a harmonious way. You don't need to suppress it. You don't even need to quit masturbating. Just stop ejecting life force from your body and start to connect your sexual energy with love, with harmony, and with this inward recycling of energy. And then who's going to want to watch porn then? So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you grab my free ejaculation control guide. There's a link in the video description below. And if you're interested in doing this full-on sexual kung fu training, going deep into mastering your sexual energy, no longer being a slave to sexual impulses, and having full body orgasms without ejaculating, check out my Multi-Orgasmic Man 6-week course. I launch it every 3 months. There's a link in the video description below for more information. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and leave a comment below. What have you done to quit porn, or what are you actively working on to remove this habit from your life? Have a great day, my friends.